Hey guys, it's Patton Oswalt from my depressing hotel room in Savannah, Georgia. And I'm about to talk about all of my far ranging, non sequential love of sequential comics.
Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, but nobody wants to see me. Everybody wants to see this guy, Patton Oswalt, returning to Forbidden Planet television once more. And when Patton was here last time, we were talking about his epic new book, From Dark Horse, with Jordan Blum, still on sale, Minor Threats, which is available from the links attached to this conversation. But Pat, when we were talking last time, your love of comics is so evident that I don't often get the chance to speak to somebody who's won an Emmy, has won a Grammy, and is also a massive comics fan, and has voiced and performed so many great comic book characters. So when did your love of comics first begin?
It came in stages. When I was a little kid, loved comic books, thought they were amazing. And then middle school came along and I got way more into Dungeons and Dragons and horror films and 80s slasher films and stuff like that. And comics felt kind of sort of tame and bland throughout some of the 70s and early 80s. And then it was the 1, 2, 3 punch of Dark Knight Returns, Swamp Thing, Watchmen, and then Sandman. And by the time I got to my senior year of high school, I was back neck deep into the world. So it took one angry American and 2 mellow Brits to pull me right back into it.
It is fascinating how often that is the journey that
It is.
contemporary comic book lovers go on.
I think for people my age, that was the thing that pulled me in. And then by the time I was in my 20s, I'm suddenly, realizing that comics aren't just superheroes, and I'm getting into Dan Clowes and Linda Barry and the Hernandez brothers and stuff like that. So, it's I think it's the same thing that happened with a lot of music fans, where American music, I imagine in the 70s, after a while got a little annoying. And then suddenly the Brits show up with this punk rock, which was started by one angry American group, the Ramones, who took it over to England, and then 2 even angrier groups. They didn't have the mellow Alan Moore and the mellow Neil Gaiman. They had the angrier Clash, and Sex Pistols sold it back to us even better. And then it opened up this whole world, the whole post-punk experience of, I'm sure there's a straight line from the Sex Pistols to the Slits and to Pere Ubu. So there's the same kind of storytelling from the Sandman. Will take you into Ghost World, will take you into, Schizo and Dirty Plot and all that kind of stuff. So, it's all there.
Mate, I'm so loving your references because I used to work for the NME for many years, and I used to publish on Cut magazine.
Really?
Yeah, no, straight up. And so you're just ticking the various elements of my entire pop culture life.
But that feels like the journey, though, doesn't it? Like
absolutely.
There has to be. It actually is advantageous sometimes, I think, when the form gets oversaturated and gets so bland that you have people that, and by the way, Frank Miller, Alan Moore, and Neil Gaiman did not hate comics. They loved them. It's when you really, really love something that you start seeing the things that are wrong with it and start wanting to put those things into it. It's the old Mel Brooks theory with me. The reason Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles are so brilliant, not because he hated Westerns, he loved Westerns, but he also was like, why do I love this thing that has so much friggin' racism in it? As a Jewish guy, this is really weird. And he looked at it that way. So someone like as progressive as Alan Moore was like, wow, I really love comic books and stuff, but they are kind of fascist in a way. Why is that? Or, so I think anytime a form is oversaturated or becomes too mainstream and bland, then you have people that push against it and make it even better.
I think that's very well said, and I think that confluence between people who love the comic book form, I think comic books index particularly highly with music fans, actually, way more so than they do with movie fans. You get a lot of movie and comic book fans, but comics and music really have a relationship.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because especially you have to. There's also there's a very similar journey of I love this thing, and this thing is only for me and my circle of friends who are all in the know. And how dare Warner Brothers take this thing and make it massive and give all this money to the creators I love? Like how many music fans have been so angry at their working class struggling heroes suddenly being rich? It's like, well, be happy. They made it. Yeah. Don't be angry at them for making money and being comfortable.
Yeah, no, that it's so true. There's a relatively new book. I don't know. It's only just started coming out, so you might not have caught up with it yet. Chip Zdarsky's Public Domain. I just started reading it. Chip, you know, that's another thing. Really quick, a little quick side note is, after a while, as you really become deep into the fandom, you stop following characters. You just follow writers, and you're like, oh, whatever this person puts out, I'm gonna. Oh, Gail Simone, I'll get it. What? Yes, it doesn't matter. It's Gail Simone. I'm gonna read. It's gonna be great. So yeah, Chip Zdarsky is one of those people. They're like, I'll just read his stuff. I just started reading it. That's a phenomenal book. He's a great talent, I think. You know. Oh my God, yeah. And he's so funny, amusing. He's got such an interesting slant on everything that he does. Mm-hmm. But everything's got a kind of emotional and intellectual rigor to it. Yes, yeah. I mean, you saw a lot of that with even though I don't think he was the main writer, but on Sex Crimes. Oh, yes, the book he did with Fraction. That is an amazing book, mate. But yes, it's this very high concept, very adult, dirty concept that ended up having told really touching human stories that kind of like almost made you sad at some points, despite all the ridiculousness. So yeah, that there's always, no matter how high concept, high science things get, we're still human beings at the bottom of it, and that's always going to will always affect history. I really couldn't agree more. And just to round up a few other contemporaneous writers and whatnot, you touched upon Gail Simone, who I think, for all of her popularity, is still wildly underrated. Good. Well, you know why she's underrated? Because her stuff is so popular, and it's so accessible, and it's so genuinely entertaining and fun that sometimes you miss some really dark, brilliant messages that she's sneaking into these comics. And I think that she's due for a reassessment of the stuff that she's been smuggling in that I don't think people realize she's smuggling into her stuff is amazing. Yeah, no, I agree. And again, it's so fully realized and cleverly thought out. Also, I think she managed to script one of the all-time greatest DC books, not just the last 10 or 15 years, but ever, with Secret Six. I think it's an amazing piece of work. Secret Six and Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey has Birds of Prey, nonstop entertainment, fun, costumes, and then really deep meditations on torture, misogyny, and you're like, how she's amazing. And this new one that she's doing, the variants for Marvel, is pretty brilliant. I think there's only 2 issues out, but the concept is, hey, what if the multiverse isn't really fun and goofy? What if it was actually created an existential crisis? It's really cool, mate. I could not agree more. Are you a Brubaker and Phillips fan? Yes, I have everything those guys have ever done, even back to his Low Life comics, which I think I encountered at the San Diego Comic-Con. I think they were just like, he was selling them from a table he had set up, like stapled together issues that he was just putting out himself. Just amazing writing. So you've been right there since the beginning, yeah. And they get better and better. I mean, that Reckless series they're currently doing, man. I loved early 70s California noir, and he just, man, does he know how to run with that. What's great about him, I think, is he takes the men's adventure paperback from the 70s. He takes Travis McGee, but he puts this very contemporaneous spin on it, and it's this kind of whole postmodernist take on that stuff while also loving it. I think it's an incredible line to be able to walk. Well, I think that gets back to the thing I was talking with Mel Brooks. He truly loves a lot of that stuff. I love the Travis McGee novels. There are passages, though, that I will share with friends who also love the Travis, where we're like, oh God, did this age bad? Like, how does he have this paragraph that completely foreshadows environmentalism, and he gets all this right, and then he also writes one of the most racist, misogynistic things I've ever read. Like, how the fuck is this happening? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's brilliantly. The foresight in those books is amazing, but it lands you to earth with the third. You know, when you read the misogyny, particularly the racism, yes, but the misogyny, man, it's shot through most of the books in the series.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
oh God. Yeah, apparently the undercurrent of Travis McGee's novels is there's no problem you can have that Travis can't fuck out of you on his boat. Ladies, if you're in trouble, if you've suffered psychological damage, go to Travis's fuck boat and he'll fuck it out of you.
Yeah, mate,
Oh.
it is so true. Before you leave us, Patton, have you got any contemporary outside of Minor Threats, your own epic book? Have you got any contemporary books that you would recommend, or not contemporary books that you recommend for the viewership?
Well, right now, Charles Soule's 8 Billion Genies is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And there's another one now. Why am I blanking on his name? But there's a book that Aftershock put out called Maniac of New York.
Oh man, yeah.
And he was an ex-Daily Show writer, I believe the head writer there. I'm blanking on his name. I'm so embarrassed. But I don't even want to say what the content is because the concept is so perfect and brilliant and original. I don't want to mess it up. It's friggin' genius. There's a book called Hit Me, a mystery, a Playfair mystery. In other words, the clues are all there, but it's set into the world of BDSM, written by someone who also works as I believe, as a dominatrix in her real life and writes about that world, writes about sex workers and stuff like that in a very non-judgmental way. It just, and on top of it, a brilliant mystery, really, really well plotted. So anything that combines, Killadelphia, Rodney Barnes' Killadelphia, and the offshoot Nita Hawes Nightmare blog. Damn, I have too many to name right now, but there's we're talking about Bloodstained Teeth, Christian Ward.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I almost want, I don't know if there's a way they probably can't. Well, are they on the same? They're both image books. I would love to see the protagonist from Bloodstained Teeth run into the Killadelphia characters. How would Killadelphia is so low life, but also is, again, I don't want to ruin the concept. You'll have to read it, but they're brilliant. I would love to see those worlds collide.
And those creators could undoubtedly pull that off as well.
Yes.
That's absolutely the case. These are really solid recommendations. Thank you, mate. What character that you haven't played, either by voice or on screen, would you still like to play? Comic book character. Yeah,
comic book character. I would love to play the Golden Age Sandman, Wesley Dodds from Wagner and Siegel's Sandman Mystery Theater. One of my favorite comic book characters ever. I think it'd be amazing to play him. Mate, that's a brilliant answer, mainly because that is, I'm not kidding, my favorite comic book. Did a whole hour with Matt Wagner about that. It is amazing work. I want DC to put out a friggin' omnibus edition. I'll write the intro, do extra. That was such a great series and they canceled it. I know, at least it had a decent run, but they are putting out an omnibus of the first 40 issues, first quarter of next year. Are they? They've literally just solicited it, mate. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, good. But I want them all in beautiful omnibus editions. Then put those out and then put a second one out for all of them. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That is a great answer. Thank you. So everything Patton's been talking about, you can find in the links to our conversation, alongside the links for his great new book with Jordan Blum, Minor Threats, which is a terrific read. Thanks for carving out time for your day to come and see us at Forbidden Planet, mate. Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. Thank you. And we'll see you in the store when you make it over to London. Yes, you will. Take care, Pat. All the best. Take it easy. See ya. If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.